Hello everyone, welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share with you our topic, the words that show what's yours. We'll be exploring possessive pronouns and how they help us express ownership clearly. Over the next few slides, we'll look at some examples and learn how to use these words correctly. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about learning how to identify and understand pronouns. You might have noticed that in the examples, we see sentences like, they are learning, and the students are happy. Here, they replaces the noun, the students, which helps avoid repeating the same word. Similarly, in she is happy, the word she takes the place of a specific girl or woman. And in Maria is happy, Maria is a proper noun, but if we wanted to say she is happy instead of repeating her name, she would be the pronoun. So, a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun, making sentences smoother and less repetitive. This is really important because it helps us communicate more clearly and efficiently. Understanding pronouns ties into the overall theme of how language works and how we can use it effectively. Remember, pronouns are like stand-ins. They help us talk about people, places, or things without constantly repeating their names. So let's take a moment to consider the question, whose is it? This is where pronouns come into play, specifically those that help us identify ownership. When we ask, whose is it? We're looking for a word that shows who or what owns something, and the answer to that question is a possessive pronoun. These pronouns are special because they directly indicate ownership. For example, words like mine, yours, his, hers, ours, and theirs are all possessive pronouns. They tell us who the item belongs to without needing to repeat the noun. Understanding possessive pronouns is really important because they show ownership clearly and efficiently. They help us communicate more smoothly and avoid confusion. So, as we continue through this presentation, keep in mind that possessive pronouns are the words we use to show ownership, making our sentences clearer and more precise. All right, let's take a moment to clarify an important point about possessive pronouns. When we talk about ownership, we use words like ours, hers, and his. Now, a common mistake is thinking we need to add an apostrophe before the S, like in ours or hers. But that's not correct. For example, if I want to say that the win belongs to us, I say the win is ours, not ours. Similarly, if I want to say the book belongs to Maria, I say Maria's book, which is correct because Maria is a noun and we add the apostrophe plus S to show possession. But when it comes to possessive pronouns like ours, hers, and his, we do not add an apostrophe. So it's the team's win is ours, not ours. The same rule applies to HERS and HIS. For example, the book is hers or the dog's bone is his. Remember, these are possessive pronouns, and the key point is, no apostrophe, just use the word as it is. So, to sum up, possessive pronouns do not take an apostrophe. They're simple words that already show possession. Keep that in mind, and it will help keep your writing clear and correct. Now let's look at some of the possessive pronouns that belong to the family. Starting with their and theirs, these are used when referring to something that belongs to more than one person. For example, their house or the house is theirs. Moving on, we have his, her, hers, and its. These are used for singular nouns like his book or her bag. Remember, hers and its are used when emphasizing possession. Next, we see your and yours, which are used when talking directly to someone. For example, your car or this book is yours. Notice how your is used before a noun, and yours stands alone to show possession. Then we have our and ours, which refer to something belonging to a group that includes the speaker. For example, our team or the victory is ours. Finally, my and mine are used when talking specifically about something that belongs to me. For example, my pencil or that idea is mine. In the broader context of the possessive pronoun family, you'll see that these pronouns are categorized by person, first person, second person, and third person, and by number, singular or plural. Recognizing these categories helps us use the right pronoun in the right situation, making our communication clearer and more precise. Let's talk about how we show possession using words like our, mine, and my. When I say house, I can say our house to show that it's something we share. The house is ours. Similarly, if I have a book, I can say my book to let you know that the book belongs to me. When I say mine, it emphasizes that it is something I own. Remember, my and mine are used when talking about things that belong to me. Now, if we're talking about more than one person, like a group or family, we use our and ours. For example, our house or our books show that the items belong to all of us. The key point here is that using my and mine shows personal possession, while our and ours show shared possession. These words help us clearly communicate who owns what, whether it's just me or a group. This is an important part of expressing ownership in a simple and clear way. All right, let's look at this slide. When I say yours, I'm referring to something that belongs to you. For example, your ideas, your phone, your belongings. The key point here is that yours is a possessive pronoun, which shows ownership. Now, ideas and phone are just examples to help us understand how yours works in context. When I say the ideas are yours, it means those ideas belong to you. Similarly, the phone is yours indicates that the phone belongs to you. It's important to notice that your and yours are used differently. Your is a possessive adjective, used before a noun like your ideas or your phone. On the other hand, yours is a possessive pronoun, which stands alone and replaces the noun entirely. This distinction is essential because it helps us communicate ownership clearly and correctly. When you want to emphasize that something belongs to someone, using yours can be very effective. Overall, understanding these two forms and their proper usage helps us speak more accurately and confidently about possessions, especially when we're emphasizing ownership. Let's take a closer look at third-person possessive pronouns. When we talk about something that belongs to someone or something else, we use these words. For example, its refers to something that belongs to an object or animal, like a tail. So we say, the tail is its, meaning the tail belongs to it. Next, we have hers, which shows possession for a female. If we say, the grade is hers, we're indicating that the grade belongs to her. Then there's his, which indicates possession for a male. For example, the car is his, meaning the car belongs to him. It's important to remember that these possessive pronouns, his, her, hers, its, are used to show ownership or belonging in third person. They help us clarify who or what owns something without repeating names. And as a quick reminder, his, her, hers, and its all refer to third-person ownership, whether it's a person or an object. This is a key part of understanding how to correctly show possession in English. Now let's look at the words theirs and their, which are often confused but serve different purposes. When we say theirs, we're talking about something that belongs to them, like the reward is theirs, meaning it belongs to them. On the other hand, their is used as a possessive adjective before a noun, such as their classroom, which refers to the classroom that belongs to them. It's also helpful to remember that their is used to describe something associated with a group, like their ideas or their projects. And when you want to emphasize possession more strongly, you might say it belongs to them, which is a full sentence but connects to how we use their and theirs to show ownership. Understanding the difference is important because it helps us communicate clearly and correctly, especially when we're talking about groups or possessions. Keep in mind that their modifies nouns directly, while theirs stands alone as a pronoun replacing the noun and the possessive. By mastering this, you're making your language more precise and professional, which is key in effective communication. Now let's look at some examples to understand how these words work. When we say theirs, we're talking about something that belongs to them. For example, that ball is theirs, meaning the ball belongs to them. Notice how theirs stands alone and comes after the noun, acting as a possessive pronoun. Next, we have their. This word is used before a noun to show possession. For example, that is their ball. Here, there is a possessive adjective, and it always comes before a noun to describe it. Moving on to mine, which means my or belonging to me. For instance, this book is mine. Again, mine stands by itself and indicates possession. It's a possessive pronoun that doesn't need to be followed by a noun. Then there's my. This is a possessive adjective, used before a noun, like, this is my book. It helps describe the noun directly and always comes before the noun it modifies. Now let's clarify some key points. When we talk about words like mine and theirs, we're referring to possessive pronouns. They stand alone and indicate ownership. On the other hand, my and their are possessive adjectives. They come before a noun and describe it. It's important to remember. Does the word stand alone or describe a noun? That helps us decide whether it's a pronoun or an adjective. Understanding these distinctions is essential because it helps us communicate clearly about possession and ownership in sentences. They're all part of the broader theme of how we use words to show relationships and ownership in language. Great job, everyone. Now, let's look at some examples to understand how possessive nouns and pronouns work in sentences. First, we have the phrase that brush is not his. Notice here, we're replacing the name Rosesu with the possessive pronoun his. In the original sentence, it says that brush is not Rosesu's. When we switch to the pronoun, it becomes that brush is not his. Next, we look at the sentence about the future. The future will be his. This is a way to show possession, just like in the original sentence. The future will be Rosesu's. And finally, we have Rosesu left his parents behind. Here, instead of saying Rosesu left Rosesu's parents behind, we're using the possessive pronoun his. The key point here is that replacing possessive nouns with possessive pronouns makes sentences shorter and more natural. Now, let's practice. This exercise will help you get comfortable with switching from possessive nouns to possessive pronouns, which is an important skill in mastering English grammar. Now, let's look at how we fill in these sentences with the correct possessive pronouns. The first sentence says, I went to locker. Since I'm talking about my own locker, I use my. It's a simple way to show ownership. Next, we have, your artwork is inspirational. Here, your indicates that the artwork belongs to the person you're speaking to. It's a way to make the sentence personal and direct. Moving on, Felicia was proud of grade. Because we're talking about Felicia's own achievement, the correct answer is her. This shows possession for a third-person singular female. Then, the volunteers knew that hard work was worth it. Since we're talking about a group of people, the correct possessive pronoun is their. This demonstrates that the hard work belonged to the volunteers. Finally, the answer is their, once again, emphasizing how possessive pronouns help us clearly identify ownership or association in sentences, whether we're talking about ourselves, someone else, or a group. Understanding these small words is key to making our sentences clear and correct. Remember, choosing the right possessive pronoun depends on who owns or is associated with the item or idea you're describing. All right, let's break down the key points on this slide. First, we see the phrase challenge accepted, a fun and confident way to show that we're ready to tackle these common mistakes. Now, the first correction points out that its should be its, which is a contraction for it is. This is a frequent mistake, so remember, whenever you mean it is, use its with the apostrophe. Next, we have the backyard has its trees tall with green leaves. The correction points out that it should be its, because its is a possessive pronoun showing that the trees belong to the backyard, not a contraction. So no apostrophe here. Moving on, the third correction involves John tidies their room every morning. The mistake is using their instead of his, which doesn't agree with the singular John. The correct possessive pronoun here is his, because it refers specifically to John. Finally, the last correction is mine school bag is a gray backpack. Here, mine is used incorrectly. It should be my because my is the adjective that describes school bag. So the correct sentence is my school bag is a gray backpack. Throughout this slide, the main idea is understanding how to properly use contractions and possessive pronouns. These small words make a big difference in clarity and correctness. It's important to recognize these common errors, especially when writing or speaking, because they can change the meaning or make your sentences grammatically incorrect. Remember, correcting these mistakes is part of challenging yourself to improve your language skills, and every correction brings you closer to clearer, more confident communication. All right, let's wrap things up with some key takeaways about pronouns. First, remember that they can be adjectives, which come before a noun, or pronouns that stand alone. It's important to note that you should never use an apostrophe with these words. Their main job is to replace nouns, which helps make our sentences clearer and less repetitive. Another crucial point is that pronouns can also show ownership, meaning they tell us who something belongs to. And here's a big one: possessive pronouns are huge. They are especially important because they clearly indicate possession, like mine, yours, or theirs. So, in summary, understanding how pronouns function, whether as adjectives, standalone words, or possessives, is essential for clear and effective communication. This ties back to the overall theme of mastering language tools to improve our speaking and writing skills.